As all things are unreal, there is neither defilement nor purity. Things are not as they are seen, nor are they otherwise. 66. Further, Mahamati, I will tell you about the features of Jnana and Vijnana too. And when you and other Bodhisattva-Mahasattvas are well conversant with these distinctive features of Jnana and Vijnana, you will quickly realize supreme enlightenment. There are three kinds of Jnana: worldly, superworldly, and transcendental. Now, worldly knowledge belongs to the philosophers and to the ignorant and simple-minded who are attached to the dualistic views of being and non-being. Superworldly knowledge belongs to all the Sravakas and Pratyekabuddhas who are attached to the notions of individuality and generality. Transcendental knowledge, which is free from the dualism of being and non-being, belongs to the Bodhisattvas and takes its rise when they thoroughly examine things of imagelessness, see into the state of no birth and no annihilation, and realize egolessness at the stage of Tathagatahud. 3. 1. According to the Chinese versions. 2. The use of Vijnana in this sense is unusual in the Lanka. While Jnana, Ariyajanana, Prajna, and Buddhi are frequently used as synonyms. 3. The passage between now, worldly knowledge, and Tathagatahud, which is restored here according to Tiang P. 157, 11. 8-13. Vijnana is subject to birth and destruction, and Jnana is not subject to birth and destruction. Further, Mahamati, Vijnana falls into the dualism of form and no form, being and non-being, and is characterized with multiplicity. But Jnana is marked with the transcendence of the dualism of form and no form. Further, Mahamati, Vijnana is characterized with accumulation and Jnana with non-accumulation. Jnana is of three kinds: that which ascertains individuality and generality, that which ascertains birth and decay, and that which ascertains no birth and no decay. Further, Mahamati, Jnana is devoid of attachment. Vijnana attaches itself to the multitudinousness of objects. Again, Vijnana is produced from the concordance of the triple combination. 1. Jnana, in its self-nature, has nothing to do with combination or concordance. Again, Mahamati 2. Jnana is characterized with unattainability. It is the inner state of self-realization by noble wisdom, and as it neither enters nor goes out, it is like the moon in water. So it is said. 38. Karma is accumulated by Citta, and discriminated by Jnana. And one acquires by Prajna the state of imagelessness and the powers. 39. Citta is bound up with an objective world, Jnana evolves with reflection. And Prajna evolves in the exalted state of imagelessness and in the excellent conditions. 40. Citta, manas, and Vijnana are devoid of thoughts and discriminations. 3. It is the Sravakas and not the Bodhisattvas that try to reach reality by means of discrimination. 41. The Tathagata's Jnana is pure, resting in quietude in the most excellent patience or recognition of truth. It is productive of excellent sense and is devoid of purposiveness. 42. Prajna, with me, is of three kinds. Whereby the wise grow powerful, individual signs are discriminated, and all things are manifested. 1. 43. My prajna has nothing to do with the two vehicles, it excludes the world of beings. That of the Sravakas evolves from their attachment to the world of beings. The Tathagata's prajna is spotless too because of its being in accord with mind only. 67. Further, Mahamati, there are 9 kinds of transformation as held by the philosophers endorsing the doctrine of transformation. They are: the transformation of form, the transformation of characteristics, the transformation of cause, the transformation of concordance, the transformation of view, the transformation of origin, the transformation of nature, the transformation of manifest conditions, and the transformation of manifest work. These, Mahamati, are the 9 views of transformation expounded by all the philosophers in accordance with their secret teaching, and they are all founded upon the dualism of being and non-being. Now, Mahamati, by the transformation of form is meant the alteration of form in appearance, as gold takes various shapes when made into all kinds of ornament. For example, gold is seen made into a bracelet, a necklace, a philpot, or whatnot. Though the gold itself remains the same, varieties of articles made of it are all different in form, that is, in their transformations. In the same way, Mahamati, there is a general transformation of things which is discriminated by other philosophers as coming from a causal agency. They are not right, nor are they otherwise. All differentiation in transformation is to be regarded as due to discrimination, such as the thickening of milk into curds and the ripening of fruit into a liquor. Mahamati, like this thickening and ripening, each transformation is a transformation rising from discrimination, which is discriminated by the philosophers. Really there is nothing transformed, for the external objects of which being and non-being are discriminated, are what is seen of mind itself and have no reality of their own. In the same way, Mahamati, what is regarded by the ignorant and simple-minded as the evolving of objects is no more than the discrimination of their own mind, and, Mahamati, there is really nothing evolving, nothing disappearing, as it is like seeing things that evolve in a vision and a dream. Mahamati, it is like perceiving the rise and disappearance of things in a dream. It is like the birth and death of a barren woman's child. So it is said. 44. The transformation of the form in time, and the embracing of the soul in the elements and sense organs, which is in its middle way existence. They who thus imagine the birth of a child are not wise men. 45. The Buddhas do not discriminate the world as subject to the chain of origination. But they regard the causation which rules this world as something like the city of the Gandharvas. 68. At that time, Mahamati the Bodhisattva-Mahasattva asked the Blessed One to explain concerning the deep-seated attachment to the existence of all things and the way of emancipation, saying, Pray tell me, Blessed One, pray tell me Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened one, concerning the characteristics of our deep attachment to existence and of our detachment from it. When I and other Bodhisattva-Mahasattvas understand well the distinction between attachment and detachment, we shall know what is the skillful means concerning them, and shall no more become attached to words according to which we grasp meaning. When we understand well what is meant by attachment to the existence of all things and the detachment from them, we shall destroy our discrimination of words and letters. And, by means of our wisdom, enter into all the Buddha lands and assemblies. Be well stamped with the stamp of the powers, the self-control, the psychic faculties, and the dharnis. And, well furnished with the wisdom in the 10 inexhaustible vows and shining with varieties of rays pertaining to the transformation body. Behave ourselves with effortlessness like the moon, the sun, the jewel, and the elements. And hold such views at every stage as are free from all the signs of self-discrimination. And, seeing that all things are like a dream, like Maya, etc., shall be able to enter the stage and abode of Buddhahood, and deliver discourses on the Dharma in the world of all beings and ill accordance with their needs, and free them from the dualistic notion of being and non-being in the contemplation of all things which are like a dream and Maya, and free them also from the false discrimination of birth and destruction, and, finally, shall be able to establish ourselves where there is a revulsion at the deepest recesses of our consciousness, which is more than words can express. Said the Blessed One. Well said, Mahamati. Listen well to me then, Mahamati, and reflect well within yourself. I will tell you. Mahamati the Bodhisattva-Mahasattva said, Certainly, I will, Blessed One. And gave ear to the Blessed One. The Blessed One said to him thus. Mahamati, immeasurable is our deep-seated attachment to the existence of all things, the significance of which we try to understand afterwards. For instance, there are the deep-seated attachments to signs of individuality, to causation, to the notion of being and non-being, to the discrimination of birth and no birth, to the discrimination of cessation and no cessation, to the discrimination of vehicle and no vehicle, of samskrita and asamskrita, of the characteristics of the stages and no stages, and the attachment to discrimination itself, and to that arising from enlightenment, the attachment to the discrimination of being and non-being on which the philosophers are so dependent, and the attachment to the triple vehicle and the one vehicle, which are discriminated. These and others, Mahamati, are the deep-seated attachments cherished by the ignorant and simple-minded to their discriminations. Tenaciously attaching themselves to these, the ignorant and simple-minded go on ever discriminating like the silkworms who, with their own thread of discrimination and attachment, enwrap not only themselves but others and are charmed with the thread. And thus they are ever tenaciously attached to the notions of existence and non-existence. But really, Mahamati, there are no signs here of deep-seated attachment or detachment. All things are to be seen as abiding in solitude where there is no evolving of discrimination. Mahamati, the Bodhisattva-Mahasattvas should have his abode where he can see all things from the viewpoint of solitude. Further, Mahamati, when the existence and non-existence of the external world are understood to be due to the seeing of the mind itself in these signs, the Bodhisattva can enter upon the state of imagelessness where mind only is, and there see into the solitude which characterizes the discrimination of all things as being and non-being and the deep-seated attachments resulting therefrom. This being so, there are in all things no signs of a deep-rooted attachment or of detachment. Here, Mahamati, is nobody in bondage, nobody in emancipation, except those who by reason of their perverted wisdom recognize bondage and emancipation. Why? Because in all things neither being nor non-being is to be taken hold of. Further, Mahamati, there are three attachments deep-seated in the minds of the ignorant and simple-minded. They are greed, anger, and folly. And thus there is desire which is procreative and is accompanied by joy and greed. Closely attached to this there takes place a succession of births in the five paths. Thus there are the five paths of existence for all beings who are found closely attached to greed, anger, and folly. When one is cut off from this attachment, no signs will be seen indicative of attachment or of non-attachment. Further, Mahamati, depending upon and attaching to the triple combination which works in unison, there is the continuation of the Vijnanas incessantly functioning. And because of the attachment there is a continued and deep-felt assertion of existence. When the triple combination which causes the functioning of the Vijnanas no more takes place, there is the triple emancipation, and when this is kept in view, there is no rising of any combination. So it is said. 46. The imagining of things not existent. This is characteristic of attachment deeply seated in all beings. When the truth of this is thoroughly understood, the net of attachment is cleared away. 47. The ignorant take hold of the knowledge of existence according to words and are bound up like the silkworm with their own discriminations. Hence their ignorance of attachment deeply seated in their minds. 69. Further, Mahamati said, according to the Blessed One, in all things that are variously discriminated by discrimination there is no self-nature, as it is nothing but the creation of false imagination. If, Blessed One, it is but the creation of false imagination. And there is nothing in the world which is to be conceived as indicative of self-nature. Does it not, Blessed One, come to this, according to your statement, that there is neither defilement nor purification, because all things are of the nature of false imagination? Said the Blessed One. Mahamati, it is just as you say. The self-nature of things is the discrimination of the ignorant and simple-minded, and it is not as it is discriminated by them. Mahamati, it is the creation of false imagination. Nothing indicative of self-nature is to be ascertained. But, Mahamati, there is the self-nature of things such as is ascertained by the wise, by their wise knowledge, by their wise insight, by their wise transcendental vision. Said Mahamati. Blessed One. If there is the self-nature of things such as is ascertained by the wise, by their wise knowledge, by their wise insight, by their wise transcendental vision which is neither human nor celestial vision. And if there is no such self-nature as is discriminated by the ignorant and simple-minded, how, blessed one, can the ignorant and the simple-minded abandon their discriminations, as they have no way to recognize the presence of an exalted reality? For they are neither perverted nor unperverted, blessed one. That is, they are what they are. Why? Because they are unable to have an insight into the self-nature of exalted reality, because they see the course of things in the aspect of being and non-being. And blessed one, the reality one cannot be such as is discriminated even by the wise, because the aspect of reality as it is in itself cannot be an object of discrimination by anybody. Because, blessed one, what appears to the wise as the self-nature of reality is no more than the creation of their imagination, which is predicible with the notion of causation and no causation. That is, they also cherish in their own way the idea of a being with self-nature. And they would say that this is a realm that belongs to somebody else and is not that of the ignorant. This is committing the fault of non-finality, for thus what constitutes the self-nature of reality becomes impossible to know. Blessed one, what is derived from the imagination cannot be the self-nature of reality. How is it that, while things are said to exist owing to the imagination too or discrimination, they are said again not to be such as are imagined? One Vastu and Bhava are both used here in the sense of reality. 2. Throughout this text, Parikalpa, Vikalpa, Pratikalpa, and Prativikalpa are used interchangeably. Blessed one, it is true that according to the way the imagination is carried on, the self-nature of reality conceived may vary. For when the cause is not alike, the notion of reality that thus comes to be cherished may not be alike. But according to you, blessed one, while the imagination is kept on going with the wise as well as with the ignorant, the latter alone fail to see reality as it is. And yet you tell us that the reason why it is said that things are not really such as are imagined by the imagination is to make all beings discard their imagination. Now, blessed one, is it that in order to have all beings free from the notion of being which is realism and of non-being which is nihilism, you in turn make them cherish a realistic view of existence one by telling them to uphold the idea of the self-nature of reality, whereby they are led to cling to the realm of noble wisdom? Why do you deny the truth of solitude by teaching the doctrine of reality whose self-nature is according to you noble wisdom? 2. Said the Blessed One. Mahamati, it is not true that I deny truth of solitude, nor that I fall into a realistic view by upholding the noble doctrine of self-existing reality. But in order to save all beings from becoming frightened, who are addicted from beginningless past to the notion of self-nature, it is told them that there is truth of solitude, after making them realize by means of noble wisdom that reality in its self-nature is made the subject of attachment by the ignorant. Mahamati, the doctrine of self-nature is not taught by me. But, Mahamati, those who have realized by themselves truth of solitude as it really is and are abiding in it, will see that this existence of error has no form. And thereby knowing that what is seen is nothing but the mind itself, they are kept away from dualistically viewing an external world 3 under the aspect of being and non-being. They are stamped well with the stamp of suchness which is gained by the triple emancipation. They will have an intuition into the self-nature of all things by the wisdom which is acquired within themselves. And thus get away from such ideas of reality as to lead themselves to realism and nihilism. 1. Not abhinavesanastight vadrashti as it stands in the text, but abhinavesadastitvan. According to Tiang and Sung. 2. This whole passage ascribed to Mahamati is one of the most difficult passages in the Lankavatara, partly due to discrepancies. The translator is not at all satisfied with the result. In the appendix the whole section 69 is given in the original Sanskrit together with all the 4 versions, Chinese and Tibetan. 3. Viviktadharma, Yathadatya being a curious repetition of the preceding lines is dropped in the translation. 70. Further, Mahamati, the thesis, all things are unborn is not to be maintained by the Bodhisattva-Mahasattva as valid. Why? Of this thesis it is to be stated that anything of which something is asserted partakes thereby of the nature of being, and that the reason for this thesis is characterized with the quality of birth. While it is being asserted by the Bodhisattva-Mahasattva that all things are unborn, the very assertion destroys his thesis. The thesis that all things are unborn acts against the one who holds it because it is born of the principle of mutuality. Even when this thesis of no birth is to be maintained within the extent of existence itself, the notion of no birth cannot hold itself in it, and the statement, the thesis,